This content is brought to you by iTrust Capital, which is a great platform that allows you to easily invest in crypto without worrying about taxes or fees. iTrust Capital allows you to invest in crypto through an individual retirement account or IRA. IRAs are tax sheltered accounts, which means all of your crypto is tax free and can even grow tax free over time. The process of signing up with iTrust Capital is very easy. They have a mobile app. They have 25 plus cryptocurrencies. They have full support, a dedicated team ready to help you. And it is free. And once again, 100% free to sign up with iTrust Capital. There are no hidden fees and there's no monthly subscription or membership. They also have great security. They utilize Coinbase custody for all their custodial services. So you don't have to worry. It is institutional grade crypto custody that they are using. This is a great platform. Once again, it is free to sign up. So visit the link in the description and go check it out. If you sign up with my link, you get a $100 funding bonus. So once again, check the link in the description. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. With me today is Ron Hammond, who's no stranger to the show. He is the Director of Government Relations at the Blockchain Association. Ron, always great to have you.
Thanks for having me back.
Well, Ron, it's never a boring day in DC for crypto. Lots to talk about. First up, I would like to discuss is the SEC. Two items here. One, the jurisdictional battle between the SEC and the CFTC for crypto regulations. And then yesterday, we heard the SEC doubling their enforcement unit, and then Commissioner Hester Peirce kind of tweeting her disagreement with that. Can you tell us what you're hearing regarding these two items?
Yeah, sure thing. So the SEC, obviously, there's a lot going on in their space as it relates to crypto. A couple of things have been public. Some things maybe have not come to the surface. So happy to opine a little bit on that. We've been seeing the SEC recently, as including last week, briefed the financial services Republicans about his work within the SEC. He does the same thing for the Democrats, but for the Republicans, who've been a little more aggressive in his approach to crypto, especially. This is a closed door meeting, and he really focused a lot on a variety of things, ranging from crypto to stable coins, from what I've been told from my contacts, as well as to other topics that are not related to crypto at all, more ESG related, honestly. So there was a lot of frustration from the Republicans. Now, mind you, these Republicans are going to be in control of the House likely come November. And that means also oversight of the SEC. So from what I was told, it wasn't a very friendly meeting, but it's a way at least he's engaging with the Republicans, which, we get the tip of hat that at least that engagement's happening. Sure, it's behind closed doors, but these things do happen. So so that was a pretty significant update in terms of just briefing the Republicans and being available to him in some form or fashion. Additionally, we did see the news about the SEC staffing up the enforcement division on the crypto side. At the surface level, that is sometimes good to have, though, in terms of just policing this space. There's been a lot of low-hanging fruit in terms of enforcement actions for fraud and scams. There's been plenty out there recently. But on the other end of this coin, and which was more alarming, as you mentioned, was Commissioner Peirce, the Republican commissioner, one of them, objecting, saying this is actually pretty concerning. And when the SEC commissioner says that, even though she's part of the opposite party of the administration, that's definitely a nod to the industry as well as to folks in the retail, that this staffing increase may not be just for the scams and frauds that are really easy that we've come to see a lot recently, but maybe focusing on the regulation by enforcement play that we've seen from the SEC, going after the top dog, whether it be Coinbase, Ripple, or other companies, and having that set the precedent for the other companies to fall in line. So, if I was one of those bigger companies, it's definitely something I'd be worried about. But my hope is that we have that more focused on, again, these really low-hanging fruit scams, frauds, that just really outright that's pretty obvious to both sides of the aisle that this should be prosecuted. So again, that's my hope. But when Commissioner Peirce says something counter, that's pretty indicative of what's happening.
Sure, and I think it wouldn't be such a alarming item if there was the clear regulations from the SEC. Maybe an updated how we test, whatever it may be, but something that is built for digital assets and crypto, but they're taking the enforcement action route. So I saw quite a few members of Congress tweet out their disagreement with this. Tom Emmer, Warren Davidson, and so forth, who you're very familiar with. What can these folks do? Because I think that's a question that pops up all the time. Well, can Congressman Warren Davidson, can Congressman Tom Emmer do something about this? Uh, I don't know if he can shed any light there. What actions they could take?
Yeah, sure thing. So, there's a variety of tactics that members of Congress use to get a response from the SEC, whether it be in a public or private setting, or where they put pressure on the agency. Again, when you're in the minority, it's a lot tougher because, especially in the House where it's majority rule, you're pretty much just shaking your fists and yelling, which is pretty typical of the dynamic at place if the administration's the opposite party. However, Subcommittee Chair Emmer actually oversees the Oversight Subcommittee, which again oversees the SEC and other financial regulators. And he carries a lot of teeth. And let's also not forget that a couple of weeks ago, he sent that letter dubbed the Blockchain 8 letter with 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats, many on the Financial Services Committee, asking about the regulation by enforcement approach, especially as it relates to DeFi and other more emerging technologies in crypto. There has been no response yet to that letter. And mind you, Gensler and most agencies take several months to respond to these letters. But that's a very telling and public sign that he has to respond to this letter, hopefully in the coming weeks. And that's one way to get him on the record to say, what's his state of play here? What is he looking at? And being a little more transparent in his process. I will say additionally too, we're seeing other efforts such as like a hearing coming up with Chair Gensler, whether that be in the House Financial Services Committee where those members sit that you alluded to earlier, or through other committees like Senate Banking, because that usually has at least one oversight hearing of the SEC each year. Additionally, there's the Appropriations Committee, which doesn't really heavily deal with a lot of the crypto regulation and legislation that we've seen in the past, but a lot of those members are engaged on the financing of the SEC as well as the appropriation process. And so that's another angle where we can get some transparent questions asked to Chair Gensler. Now, mind you, he does a really good job of avoiding the question. Really skilled hearing a person or someone that does well in hearings to say, but these are small things that can happen that will actually hopefully result in some transparency or at least some view of what he's thinking in this space. Which is all we can ask for at this point, in addition to rules and legislative clarity or regulatory clarity, my apologies, in this space. But that's, again, still a while out, I think.
Now, with the conversations happening of the CFTC, taking over a good amount of crypto regulations and maybe regulating crypto exchanges and things like that, obviously elections play a part in that. So let's say the Republicans, they take control in November, as you mentioned. Would that be an agenda item that they're going to push for to help balance things out in the market, as far as regulatory?
Of course. And honestly, it's not even just the Republicans. I mean, I'd say the Democrats are just as equally involved in this topic. There's some bills that they're working on this topic. I know Chair Benham from the CFTC has been really heavily engaged with Congress and try and get more legislative clarity in terms of what their role is as a regulator and trying to beef up their internal operations, whether it be on the staff side or whether it just be more of the scope size of the agency when it comes to crypto and spot market regulation in particular. We did see some legislation actually last week from the lead Republican of the Ag Committee, which oversees the CFTC, called the Digital Commodity Exchange Act. And it was bipartisan. It did include some Democrats from the Ag Committee, most notably Ro Khanna from California. But I think we're going to see something similar probably in the Senate very soon, hopefully. But basically just more outlining and carving out that CFTC does have a jurisdictional play here. And so regardless if the Republicans win the Senate or not, I think that's more the question is the Senate. Right now, most folks are projecting that the Republicans take it over, which is pretty shocking. But of course, anything can happen. And a lot of that was before the whole Supreme Court situation that happened this week. So whenever that does, whether it is a Republican Congress or if it's a split Congress, there still needs to be a call for bipartisan support. So it's really important we keep fostering that because even though the administration in one scenario isn't going to be working too much with the Republican Congress, they still need to get a lot of things done, especially on the CFTC side, because they do these major bills like the Farm Bill and the CFTC reauthorization. Like these are just like the massive bill that they throw everything into and they pass. And so I think that's kind of the play in terms of trying to get more CFTC authority via legislation is through those vehicles. So we'll see what happens, but I think it's this distress still of that this still needs to be bipartisan, and even with the Republicans taking over, they still got to reach across the aisle.
Sure. Okay, let's jump ahead to, and I saw you tweet about this, that there were two pro-crypto candidates who I believe got elected in Ohio. And you added the context of a retiring senator from Ohio drafted the infrastructure bill, which contained the controversial crypto provision. Tell us about that and what's happening there.
Yeah, sure thing. So Senator Portman, for those who may or may not remember, this is back in August of last year during the whole infrastructure fight we had over the broker provision. He was the lead drafter of that legislation. Now, mind you, some of the text had come from Treasury, FinCEN, and other agencies. That's what happens when you draft legislation. You want to make sure you get the policy experts from the relative agencies. But at the end of the day, it's still the pen is held in the senator's office and staff, and that's the language that we had. That's what we had launched this whole effort on. Back in August, that really riled the industry up and really had DC put on the map that crypto is here to stay. So it was really exciting to see that this primary that's happened last night, we had JD Vance on the Republican side, and then we had Tim Ryan on the Democrat side win their primaries, and now they're going to go to a general election battle in November. And so it's kind of ironic that the senator who kind of kicked off this whole infrastructure fight, the whole issue with DC engagement with the crypto industry, really now is being replaced by two members who are very pro-crypto and have made it publicly. Even Tim Ryan, for example, the Democrat, he led the bill with Representative McHenry from North Carolina to fix that provision, which is really kind of ironic that he is now the guy on the ticket. So that's really exciting to see. Again, we're seeing so many pro-crypto candidates from a variety of backgrounds. And I think, not now, but I think probably in 2 years during the presidential election, this issue comes up. I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see. And mind you, there's so many other issues, but I think it's like that one question still that gets asked at debates and stuff like that. Because you also got to remember, Andrew Yang and Mike Bloomberg had crypto in their presidential platform. So that's just the start. That was 2 years ago, and now we're moving forward here with more candidates, especially for Senate, pretty high office, now having their positions public on the matter.
Well, that's definitely some great news in this situation happening, and maybe the tip of the iceberg of things to come as we progress in the industry and more members of Congress and government become educated about crypto and the benefits and so forth. So definitely, I would say some great news.
Yeah, to say the least. And again, there's probably more happening too. But we also are in the election cycle, so it's a lot of pontificating, a lot of making your position known publicly. Legislatively, a lot of things aren't going to be done right now, but you'll see some bills actually probably introduced between now and November that are more related to messaging for the campaign. It's very typical to do that for like the border or abortion rights and stuff like that. But you'll see that with crypto, I think, too, in the coming months. So while one thing to caution your viewers that you might see some legislation, and I think there's actually going to be a decent amount this month and next month, the chances of them moving are pretty slim, but it's also trying to show that, hey, dear voters, dear constituents, this is an issue that's important to me, and also to the industry, that this is something that we should take seriously. So my hope is that a lot of these bills that do get introduced between now and November do carry over to next year when Congress has a lot more time to go through the legislative process of pass some of these in some shape or form.
For sure. Now, speaking of bills, Senator Lummis has been working on a crypto bill. Any updates there that you can share?
Yeah, actually, she made a tweet public yesterday where she mentioned that there might be some tweaks coming to the bill. Now, the bill, like any bill drafting process, there's goes through a lot of edits and such. But it looks like she's trying to get a push to get this legislation out pretty soon, whether it be in a discussion draft, which is like a way to basically just have it open and public so that folks can weigh in and make some tweaks here and there, or whether it's through maybe an eventual bill drop itself later this month or later next month. I think it's pretty inevitable, though, that this bill is going to be coming out publicly pretty soon, which is encouraging because it has Senator Lummis, Senator Gillibrand, most likely, looks like, as the Democrat lead. And this is a way, at least for Senator Lummis, to show that she wants feedback from the industry. She said that publicly. So I think that's something that's very exciting to see, and we should take note because it's a bipartisan product, and we want to make sure that we make it as best of a product, even though, like I mentioned, it's not going to pass this year. this is going to be really important because it's a large bill from what I've seen so far. And breaking it up into smaller bills, which is easier for Congress to pass, will carry a lot of weight. And so my hope is that we have some really good proposals in there, and that we carry into the next year with some really strong bipartisan support, especially from some of the agencies supporting some of the measures potentially too. So again, it all remains to be seen, but being open and transparent and public with feedback has been really exciting to see.
Now you've got some what I would want to call breaking news. There's two bills or actions are going to be taken today. One related to Fidelity and the 401k, crypto 401k, and then also an executive bill coming out of California. Can you tell us about both?
Yeah, sure thing. So for those who may not be aware, the Department of Labor, which oversees a lot of the pension funds, has been pretty critical of Fidelity recently for potentially offering a plan to employers that includes coverage of crypto in their retirement packages. And they were saying, look, the market's not stable in their mind. They think that there's some potential manipulation, something very similar line of messaging we've seen from the SEC, honestly. So Senator Tuberville from Alabama, that's a Republican Alabama senator, he is introducing a bill today that's going to be trying to address this topic. Now, it won't mention crypto specifically, but it is about this issue. It's a pretty short bill, but it's a really good first step, especially when it comes to making sure the Department of Labor knows that, look, this market has really matured over the past several years. And if people want to have the ability to take some of their retirement or pension packages in crypto in some way or shape or form, or have some exposure, they should. So it's more about the element of choice. I think that's what you'll see in the legislation. It's more of that idea of you can choose what you want rather than focusing on crypto specifically. We might see some other legislative efforts on this as well. But tax policy it's in the weeds. It can get a little messy, especially when it comes to pensions and stuff like that as well. It's not the sexiest thing when it comes to legislation, but it's really important. And I think we're going to see some developments on that on this front and on the tax front throughout the rest of the year. And again, I will still mention this is more carrying weight into next year. So it's important that these efforts are out there publicly, and we hope to carry the weight in 2023 when it's a lot more time to move legislation.
For sure. Now, tell us about what's going to come out of California today.
That's right. So the California side is pretty exciting. And again, it should be today that it gets released. But it's an executive order similar to what we've seen in other states like New Hampshire that mirror the Biden executive order. So what we've been told is it's very similar to the commerce section of the Biden executive order, which basically just says, like, look, we want feedback from the industry of making sure we can keep this industry and technology here in the United States, or here in California in this case, while also making sure we protect consumers, which makes sense, prevent against manipulation and such. So I think it's a good first step. Some folks might be cautiously optimistic, and I think that's what the industry is at right now. But it shows that, hey, look, crypto's here to stay. California is trying to cement its footing that, look, we want them to stay in California and attract more business. So I think they should be embraced, and that's going to be pretty exciting. And I think other states might follow suit down the road, but this is a really good first step and really exciting on the state front.
Yeah, it's interesting how the state competition for crypto businesses is heating up. I know, like, Texas has attracted a lot. Miami, I should say Florida, but specifically Miami has started to attract a lot of business, even outside of crypto. And California, historically, having Silicon Valley, that was, the tech. Let's see, what's the word? I don't know, the tech heaven or whatever it may be. And it seems like now they're waking up like, hey, we got to keep these businesses here because folks are leaving. Yeah,
and I think there's a variety of motivations for a lot of these states to get involved. So like a state, Wyoming, like they're looking at, filling their tax coffers here, and also making sure that they attract a lot of businesses to Wyoming because, geographically it's been more focused on oil and gas, for example. But then you look at a state like California, they're losing a lot of folks in the tech side. So this is a way to kind of keep them there and draw more folks in. From the Texas side, look, this is a way to attract business investment. Texas has been doing a really good job on that front. But then we also, again, other states are making plays here and there, and we talk to the state government associations or blockchain associations there pretty regularly, actually. We have a whole signal chat dedicated to just keeping folks updated on what's happening. So it's been really cool to see these folks on the state level who are just leading the charge by themselves largely, and they're making huge impact and huge strides. And so, hats off to RU for Cascadia, Lee Bratcher from Texas Blockchain Council, Ali Medina, and so many other ones who are out there just doing a really great job on a variety of states. But the importance here, and I think this is kind of the general theme when it comes to lobbying and advocacy on the crypto side, is that we're all in this together and we're all on the same team here. So rising tides lift all boats. And in case like New York, for example, which is having that Bitcoin mining ban bill that's still being debated on right now, we are all in this together. We all got to work together. And there's been a lot of good coordination on that front, similar to what we saw with the infrastructure bill. So my hope is that as crypto expands as an industry, we keep that still ethos of that we are all cooperative, even if they're part of different groups or associations or companies, at least when it comes to capitals and governments and lobbying, we are all on the same team. You don't win your market share in DC, you win it in the actual marketplace.
For sure. Final item here, any hearings that are coming up that, we should be on the watch for?
Yeah, so Secretary Yellen's going to be testifying in front of the Senate Banking Committee on the 10th. It's more in regards to FSOC, the Financial Stability Oversight Commission or Committee. But that, is very important because stablecoins, for example, that is something that the presidential working group said that they fall underneath that jurisdiction. So I would watch out for that hearing. As I mentioned, Gary Gensler does have to appear in front of Congress sometime this year. It should be pretty soon on a number of fronts. I think the Appropriations Committee in the House will probably go first, probably later on in May. We might see FinCEN or other folks return to the Hill. They were actually on the House side. The FinCEN director last week said some things to the akin of basically cryptos not being used for sanction evasion, which has been what Secretary Yellen's been saying. So that was really positive. There's been the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which testified in the House and Senate last week. And the director said, look, we're not looking at crypto right now. We're focusing on digital payments, more in regards to like remittances and stuff. So the good news is that the CFPB is not really focused on this right now. And I think we might see, a few more other hearings here and there, maybe tangentially related to crypto, but at least to my knowledge right now, there's no crypto focused hearing. But there's a lot of crypto bills in the works. So expect a pretty busy May for crypto policy on this front.
And Ron, final item here, because I know sometimes folks get a bit impatient and government moves slow sometimes. And I think a lot of folks are frustrated with the SEC, but, you're seeing everything holistically from a regulation standpoint, what's happening in DC. Are we moving in the right direction? Are we making progress?
Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of folks on Twitter and social media get a little frustrated about how slow the government moves. But I will caution and say, look, this is the upside with the American democratic process, is that it's very transparent, especially when it goes through Congress. And that's why we've been very much advocating for a larger role of Congress rather than the regulators, because it's a little more closed door on that situation. But when it comes to Congress, there's amendments, there's bills, it's very transparent. We know exactly how it's going on. You can see the text, you understand the legislative intent here. And we would rather get to a situation where there's good policy that stays for quite some time rather than bad policy that keeps getting, updated here and there when there's new technology or new innovations in the space. I think privacy is probably a good example of this, where, we have a bad bill out there, it can take months, years, decades to fix. And we don't want that situation to happen, when it comes to crypto policy, because that can have a really bad effect. I will caution that regulatory clarity takes some time. You got to take, small bites here and there. But we were just talking about this actually internally. It has never been this busy in quite some time. And the amount of efforts are happening from so many agencies where, we're just dealing with the SEC and CFTC. We're dealing with all of them now. When it comes to Congress, it used to be about 5 members of Congress engaged in this issue. We're dealing now with about 30 plus. And so this is kind of where it's the slow simmer. It's going to get there. We're moving really well in a good direction. But again, we got to stay bipartisan. Otherwise, we're all going to be subject to either a Republican administration, which God knows how long that could be, or a situation where the Democrats say, like, look, the Republicans are too for it, or vice versa. We're not going to touch it. So we don't want to have that situation where it's like an us versus them mentality. Again, I know it can be frustrating for a lot of folks when it comes to getting things done, but that's the issue with the United States generally, is that's a pretty safe place to do business because the government doesn't make decisions like that on a whim. They take a very meticulous time. So Just keep that in mind. Again, I know it can be frustrating for a lot of folks. Trust me, I've been in this space for 5 years. I've been trying to get regulatory clarity all the way there. We're slowly getting there here and there, but it takes time. So we're definitely pushing. And the upside too, at least there's a lot more folks like me now in DC actively engaging lawmakers too. So for the longest time, it was just the Blockchain Association, a few other folks, and now it's 30, 40, 50 folks. So that's exciting. That just means more engagement from the industry.
For sure. Well, certainly appreciate the hard work and the things that you're doing, Ron, and always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.